Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. Thanks so much for being here. This is a reading for Twin Flame Divine Masculines, or if you don't resonate with that label, it could be for you if you're wanting to work with or balance masculine energies within yourself. So take it how it resonates. I've already pulled your cards, so we're going to start with the bottom of the deck, which today I'm shifting it around a little bit. So today the bottom of the deck is representing your current energies. So we're going to start here with the Ghost and Cleanse, which I find so interesting. This Ghost card has been talking about something from the past, an energy of the past. For you today, it's coming through as being sort of like a past version of yourself. And I find it interesting that it's coming out with Cleanse, and also that we've just started Mercury Retrograde season. And so what this is talking about, I've said this in a past video, where how I experience Mercury Retrograde is that like past things, events, experiences, people, relationships will come back into my life during Mercury Retrograde in order for some sort of truth to be revealed, and healing, of course, cleansing, learning lessons, all of that kind of interaction. And I feel like that's going to be very significant for you in like the next 3 weeks, which is how long Mercury Retrograde lasts. It's an integration and healing and cleansing of any sort of past energies that are perhaps not serving you. And just to reinforce that, you have the womb, the desert, and the crater, which is so interesting because the womb today is coming through as like your beginning, right? Your origin story, where you came from. And how I'm seeing this desert card is like reaching through to the beginning, right? Like going back to your beginning, revisiting your beginning. Or if it's not like your beginning, like your birth, it could just be like the beginning of whatever cycle you've just been working on or completing or something like that. And in going back to this sort of womb beginning, in order to gain some sort of knowledge or truth, or to cleanse it perhaps, right? To heal it, to find some sort of peace perhaps about some aspect of your beginning. And then you have the Creator cards. The Creator and womb are so interconnected, right? I feel like you are trying to create something, right? Like you're whatever cycle you're ending right now, it feels very much like a healing cycle perhaps. Sorry, my throat just started getting irritated there. But like it's like you're wanting to create something, and I feel like in order to do that effectively or properly or in the way that you want to, there is this aspect coming up perhaps in this like the next 3 weeks that will be asking you to sort of go back to some sort of past event or past relationship perhaps in order to gain some sort of truth out of that. So just continuing on with the tarot. So this is the order that they came out. This was at the very bottom of the deck, the World, which is talking about a completion, right? But if we go sort of, I pulled a lot of cards from the bottom of the deck because they all seemed very significant. This Four of Swords talks about sort of rest, meditation, integration, relaxation, all of this sort of cleansing, recovery kind of energy, which I feel like is your current energy, where you are now. And then you have the Lovers and the King of Swords, which today is like this is what you're trying to create. You're making some sort of choice to move towards this Lover's energy, whatever that is for you. With the Eight of Swords also talks about sort of fast movement and momentum forward. So you are absolutely going forward. However, because of this sort of retrograde energy, or like going to the past, revisiting the past in some way, you have this Two of Cups and the World. So how I was seeing this Two of Cups was bringing the energy of sort of like your ancestors or where you came from or something like that. There's some sort of like hidden message in the stars, let's say, with this World energy, where it's kind of like you need to go back to your past, some aspect of your past, in order to gain, or like to complete the cycle and move on to the next thing. which is so incredible. So we're going to start off with where's this current energy? So that's like where you are now. Where is that leading you? Like, how is the momentum going to shift, I guess? So you have here the Kairos and the Comet, which is so interesting. This Comet card has come out, I think, like 4 readings in a row now. So if you have any water in your chart, I would take a look at like the past 3 readings, especially if you have Scorpio in your chart, because that was this was the first card in that reading. So I'll link it above just in case it's relevant to you. But this Kairos card talks to me about cycles of time. So actually what this combination of cards was looking like is like, because we're at sort of the end of the year, right? With this Comet card, I was looking at like the celebration hat. It could be just like leading up into the new year, you may be having this sort of experience. And what's interesting is that you have this combination of cards, the anxiety and the confidence, which came out together, which I find so fascinating because these are sort of like opposites, right? Anxiety and confidence. And so I feel like that's sort of, there's like this balancing energy here of like experiencing anxiety, but also trying to be confident in whatever it is that you're creating. I will come back to this dynamic because there's something significant here about the eye, about seeing something about your past perhaps, and then integrating that knowledge into your present in order to move forward into the future. And so the next 3 cards to come out here were the Orphan and the Mask. So this Mask energy, it's talking about sort of this balance here, right? Between anxiety and confidence, because it feels like in the next couple weeks, it feels like you are trying to move forward or create something or find some sort of success. And it kind of feels like you're almost being like pushed out into the spotlight is kind of how this is feeling, which I'll get into in the next couple of cards of like why it feels like that. Because it kind of, where you are now, it's like all of this sort of restful cleansing energy, but it's kind of like you're going to be pushed out into the sunlight, right? And that might be causing anxiety because where you are now, perhaps like resting or just like being in an energy of quiet. You have here the Cave in the second part of the reading, which I will just mention now because I feel like what this is talking about is that you're in this sort of place of quiet and rest and darkness, not a negative darkness, more so just like just resting, right? Which is a very comfortable energy, right? It's like you're not having to do anything, and so it's just kind of restful. But then there may be sort of anxiety and sort of going out, like leaving the cave energy is kind of how this is feeling. Okay, and so that's why the Mask card is coming out. And what's interesting, on either side of the Mask, you had the Orphan and the Vessel, which is interesting. The Orphan talks about an energy of lack, right? Like something that, like, an orphan has a lot of needs, right? There's a lot of like not having enough energy that I get with this Orphan card. And then with the Vessel, which is interesting because I feel like in your reading today, there's this energy of like perhaps like insecurity about some aspect of your physical environment with the Anxiety card. Because there's some, like, I feel like it could be body positivity, right? It could be something like that. Like, I feel like a lot of our society, there's a lot of focus on sort of how feminine energies experience body positivity. But I feel like what's not talked about a lot is about sort of body positivity in terms of masculine energies. And it could also extend further than just your body, right? It could be like your material physical environment, like your house, your home, that kind of thing. All of that sort of associated with the Vessel. It's like where we live. Perhaps like the wealth that you've achieved or attained. There may be some sort of like insecurity about that. that perhaps is coming from a place like a very past energy, because I often see the orphan as being a very past energy. Like it's for most of us, like an inner child aspect within us that hasn't been healed, or that has been sort of segregated because of hurt or pain or lack, right? That's sort of this energy here. So there may be sort of this link between an insecurity because of past events that has now caused sort of this like anxiety about our physical environment in some way. So your body, your physical body, the place that you live in, something like that. Okay, so the first 3 tarot cards that you have here, the first one's the Emperor, which I really love to see in any divine masculine reading, because this is the embodiment of divine masculine energy. And what was interesting about this is that, like, I was looking at where he was standing, and it was kind of looking like bringing something up to the surface, right? Like there's like it was looking to me almost like an elevator or a platform where this was like lifting up, and then that's sort of you holding up some sort of structure. So I feel like for you right now, where you are moving towards feels very sort of positive, in alignment, where you are meant to be going. But then, and this one specifically, because it's coming through with this energy of like, with a lot of red energy, it could be like related to your foundations or security or stability. It's all of that sort of like physicality. I feel like there's something about your physical environment that's wanting to be looked at in order to be cleansed. There's some sort of like past energy that's no longer serving you that you're needing to either like integrate or cleanse or learn the lesson about, for lack of a better term. And then here you have the Knight of Coins and the Six of Coins. So the Six of Coins talks to me about long-term investment, and the Knight of Coins talks about sort of like steady progress generally, but with this card specifically, I see sort of like finding some sort of truth, right? Or like a new understanding with all of this sort of illumination, all the light coming in. It's like discovering some sort of truth, or like some sort of hidden thing that is now suddenly made clear, perhaps about like your long-term investments, or because it's coming through with all this like past foundational energy, something about your current circumstances now and how they started off, and the shift in that is kind of what this is feeling like. With the Knight of Swords coming out next, which is interesting because you did have the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck. So whenever this Kairos card comes out, it's kind of, and because we're also in Mercury retrograde, my readings always tend to do this weird thing where it's like I'm not sure if it's past, present, or future about what the cards are talking about, because it's all sort of happening at once. So there's this energy here where it's like I'm not sure about whether or not it's talking about a past event, or if it's like happening right now, or if it's in your future. So I'm kind of leaving that up to you to sort of decipher. But with the Knight of Swords here, I feel like this is just generally talking about sort of like having to run up a slippery slope is how I see this, right? So there could have been some aspect of your past where you like successfully climbed up a difficult hill or challenge, or however you want to phrase that. And it's like you've established some aspect of your stability and foundation very successfully by sort of like climbing up like a slippery slope, right? Like it's like you found success, perhaps like against the odds is kind of how it's coming through. But there's something about that wants to be cleansed is kind of how it's feeling. Because you have here next the Three of Cups and the Eight of Cups coming out together. So Eight of Cups talks about walking away from something, right? There's some sort of event, experience, activity, whatever it is, that's no longer satisfying to you. And so walking away from that in order to seek something more satisfying or finding more fulfillment in it. And what's interesting is it's coming out with the 3 of Cups, which today is coming through with like an energy of like an activity or something that you once found enjoyable, right? Like it was coming out with like hanging out with friends or like drinking with friends or just like an energy of celebration or like partying, perhaps, something like that. That perhaps in the past you very much enjoyed. And perhaps it had something to do with your achieving your success in some way, right? Like having a really strong foundation of friends, perhaps, or a friend group that perhaps allowed you to reach some sort of success is kind of how this is coming through. But actually walking away from that now because it's not an energy that is satisfying to you is kind of how this is feeling. And then you have here the 6 of Wands, which is so interesting because the 6 of Wands talks about success. And I was watching like an astrology video last week, I think it was, that was talking about this Mercury retrograde, which is in the season of Capricorn, and also the new moon in Capricorn that was like a couple days ago. And so one of the themes that she talked about in this video was redefining success. And so that's sort of what I'm getting with the 6 of Wands, is that because it also looks like crowd surfing to me, right? Like when like musicians at a concert will jump into the crowd and sort of be lifted up by the crowd. And so there's all of this, the 3 of Cups energy. There may be something here about like perhaps you have like a very strong foundation of friends or something like that. I don't know why it's coming through with friendship or like past relationships or something like that. But it's all of this sort of like something that you once found satisfying but is no longer kind of like what it is that you're seeking is kind of how this is feeling to me. And so with these 2 cards coming out, this was the first card, this was the last card in this section of the reading. And this one's so much more vibrant, right, with the Emperor. But what the key difference between these 2 cards, it's like they're both talking about success. I feel like you're doing a lot of, like where this momentum is taking you is to actually redefine what it is that you consider to be success or fulfillment, a lot of that sort of emotional fulfillment, or an energy of like celebration, like what it is that you actually want to celebrate now. But okay, sorry, I got distracted. What I was talking about these 2 cards is the difference between these 2 cards is the 6 of Wands is like other people lifting you up, right? So it could be something like external validation, like a past version of you may perhaps have pursued things because other people lifted you up or gave you praise or whatever it is. And what it is that is perhaps more in alignment with you now is sort of you holding up the structure that you want to maintain. And as I was saying, is that like this is sort of, I was seeing as sort of like a platform being lifted up through your own like strength or internal motivation is kind of how I'm seeing this. So that might be an aspect of like your past that you're having to like cleanse and integrate, is like when you create something, are you doing it because other people sort of lift you up and celebrate you and give you praise? Or are you doing it because internally it gives you a sense of satisfaction and stability and a full embodiment of who you are, is kind of how this is feeling. Okay, so I'm actually going to leave it there. I'm going to try and make these readings a little bit shorter. We're at 20 minutes now, so I'm going to pause here. I'm going to move to the extended, and we're going to talk about what is something that you need to know about the situation or about this energy that you'll be working with. So if you're interested in that, the link for that is in the description box below. I do have other videos if you're interested in checking those out. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Happy New Year's. Bye.